I'm ready.
I thought I had to chase who I was meant to be, but the more I grow, the more I see it's not about a role, a race, or a prize to claim. It's finding peace in my own name, just me becoming serene.
Hello, beautiful, and welcome to another episode of Becoming Serene with me, Ruth DeBonnett-Southall. Today's episode is a bit different, as you can already tell. Not only am I solo and sitting in a different spot in our living room, but today's conversation is just with you. It's all about you. But I am going to share personally my journey of becoming serene and how this podcast came all about. So I want you to sit back and relax and just listen and absorb and wonder just how my story resonates with you. Because that's why this podcast was even created. It was created for you to embrace peace on your journey as you pursue your purpose. Because that's what I have learned to do. Embrace peace on my journey. So let me tell you about my journey. It began in the early 70s. I am so not ashamed about sharing my age. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I'm grateful. I am almost 53 years old. I was born in 1972. Anybody else born in 72? Please shout out 1972 in the comments. But I was born in a family full of faith, full of love, full of encouragement, and just embracing one another's strengths and differences, actually. Because my amazing parents, Patricia and Al DeBonnett Sr., raised six totally, as my mom likes to put it, totally different children. We have so many different personalities, but not only that, there were 3 girls and there were 3 boys. So if you haven't guessed, I am the Jan Brady of the bunch. I'm the middle girl and the middle of the second set of children. They refer to us as the big 3 and the little 3 all the time, even now to this day. But I was the middle child. And as the middle child, I did have my insecurities and my hangups, but I still had a whole lot of hope. I still had a whole lot of joy. And I've always embraced people. I love people. I still do. But growing up in a family with so many different personalities and siblings, of course, sometimes it's hard for you to figure out who it is that you are to be and who are you becoming. And I did not think about that nor embrace it as a child, because as a child, you don't. But I do remember now. And I have reflected upon many things that I did as a child that shaped me into who I am now and who I'm becoming. My mother said all the time that you've always taught, Ruth. You were born a teacher and you were supposed to teach. Even when I pursued a medical career, when I first went to college, she said, no, you're a teacher. Then I changed that major to psychology because I hated chemistry. And she was like, no, because you're a teacher. And even though as a child, she told me this story recently, that I was tutoring neighborhood children in the backyard when I was like 7 years old. And not only that, but guess what? I charged them. I knew then that I should attach some type of value to what I was offering. So I charged them, and she loves to share a story that I don't even remember. She said, you were charging the children something probably like a quarter or 50 cents, and one child couldn't pay, and you said, it's okay, it doesn't matter, I want you to learn how to read. And I taught her, and she came back with the money. I don't know how she got it, and maybe she asked her parents for the money and said she needed it for something or whatever, but she still came back and gave me the money. And when my mom shared that with me, and when she shares it with me, it just brings me so much joy to know that even as a child, I realized that my gift, as the word says, as the Bible says, will make room for you. And your gifts will bring you before great men. So I did not embrace becoming a teacher as a child. Like I said, when I did eventually grow up and decide upon a career path, I always loved my pediatrician. Dr. Gabriel Parsons was by far the absolute best pediatrician in the world to me. And I just loved how he communicated with me and would share with me what he was doing when he was checking, different things when I would go for my doctor's visits. And I said, I want to do this. I want to become a pediatrician. And as a very young child, I learned how to spell it. I always wrote it on what are you to become and what do you want to do when you grow up. It was pediatrician. That was it until, like I said, that fateful chemistry class that just took that right on out. But another thing about my journey I want you all to know is that I loved to read. I loved to gather information. I love to always just know things, not to be nosy. I just loved to collect information. And I also loved to learn about other people and their journeys. Autobiographies were by far my favorite reads all the time. And not only that, but I love to read about people who made an impact, who created a change, a movement. And so, of course, I adopted who now I know as mentors. I adopted so many mentors in learning about their lives. The first being Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. When I read and found out that Dr. King had also graduated at 15 and went on to Morehouse, and, the rest is history. You already know his legacy. But I said, that's interesting. I wonder if I can do that. And that was just a thought. I never even said it out loud. If I did, I don't recall. I never said it out loud. But ultimately, by no, force of my own, I didn't choose to do the things that happened in my life as a child that actually allowed me to graduate high school at the age of 15. But it was something that I know I thought about when I read that about Dr. King. And not only did I graduate high school at 15, but guess what? I also went to an HBCU in Atlanta. I went to Clark Atlanta University, 1988, the same year Clark College became Clark Atlanta University. And it's just crazy how I noticed the parallel occurrences in my life from what I read. But another most impactful read about Dr. King that I learned is that most people quote, "I have a dream," and they talk about the "I have a dream" speech. But the most wonderful read or speech that I heard Dr. King ever give was the drum major's instinct. I totally changed the focus of and the trajectory of my career path and everything based upon the drum major's instinct. And in the drum major's instinct, of course, he talked about how, I want to be first and put me first, and how people want to be first in things and they want to lead, and even how he wanted to be remembered. He said, I don't want to be remembered for all of my awards and all of the speeches and everything that I've done. What I want you all to say about me is that when someone was naked, I tried to clothe them. When someone was hungry, I tried to feed them. And when there's someone in prison, I went to visit them, because everything else does not matter. I want to be first in service. And that impacted me so much that I decided that whatever it is that God led me to do, that I wanted to serve. I wanted to serve mankind. I wanted to serve just humanity. And It happened to be teaching. So let me tell you that story. Oh my God. So I did not stay in Atlanta. I realized at the age of 15, oh my God, it was just too much going on for me, and I needed to be back home. And my family, of course, was like, okay, Ruth, whatever you want. They seemed to really trust that I was making great sound decisions as a 15-year-old. But eventually I came home and pursued the rest of my education here. But then my pastor at that time, Pastor O.C. Booker of the Tabernacle of God, Church of God in Christ, we also had a school. I graduated from Tabernacle Christian Academy, and he said, Ruth, I need you to teach. He didn't even say, Ruth, can you teach? I don't even recall having the conversation like, are you even pursuing teaching? It was just, yeah, I've needed you to do so many other things before in the church. I know you're capable. So yeah, I need you to teach third grade. And I said, okay, I guess so. I'm in education right now. That's my field. That's my course of study. And that's what I did. I had my first class of 32 students, 32 third graders by myself at the age of 19. And the type of person I am, I took that curriculum and I read it from front to back, set up the schedule, knew what to do. I was, trained in that. But then to stand in front of the classroom, I remember so many parents was like, she looks like a child herself. How is she going to teach? And I didn't even know. I promise you, when I say I did not even know. But it was, even then, I knew a grace came upon me. A grace came upon me and not just allowed me to teach, but I had 3 students, 3 who could not even read yet. Like they did not know how to read. And I took it upon myself, because even then, I'm still that type of teacher, that I felt it was my responsibility to bring these young men to where they needed to be in order to continue to learn and thrive. And I would tutor them every day after school, free of charge. Like, I didn't even think, oh, well, if the parents can pay, then I'll do. No, it was my job to make sure that they succeeded. Even to this day, it's my job when I am teaching someone. I don't care if it's a class of 50, every last one of them need to succeed and have some type of win. So I did that, and that's when the spark hit. That's when I realized, oh, I was born for this. I was born to do this. Teaching is not my occupation. It's not something that I chose. It truly chose me. And you may be thinking, well, girl, I heard that you retired again, because I have. I've retired like 3 or 4 times in my teaching career, because I did realize that there was so much more that I could do with my teaching gift. It is not, for me, it was not to be limited to just a classroom. And what sparked that, and what the way I realized that is, I gave birth. I had children. My husband has been my number one supporter with every venture I've ever undertaken. As a matter of fact, when we were, as the old people say, when we were courting, when we were just dating, I remember him asking me, what is it that you would like to do with the rest of your life? And I told him, I've always been a huge goal setter. I had aspirations to do this, that, and the other. And he's like, okay, I hear you. Good. I see. And I asked him, so what about you? What are your career goals? What's your aspirations? What do you want to do? And that man had one response: my hat's off. Hats. I tipped my hat, my imaginary hat, to my husband, Southall of Tia's Design Studio, because that man said one thing, and that one thing made me realize that he was going to be my husband. He said, my only desire is to help you get everything that you want. And he has not slacked on that one bit. That is truly how we live our lives, and I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate him for it. But that was the turning point, is that I married Travell, and then we started a family. And when we had Mackenzie, I did go back to work and back to teaching. It was, easy because my family took care of her, and I had, nieces that had children at the same time. So all of them were literally brought up together. But then here comes baby number 2. A year and a half later, I find out that I was pregnant with Jacob, and I looked at Travell and I said, yeah, I can't go to work anymore, not with 2 children, because I just knew my limitations. And I said, no, it's finding childcare for 2 children. No. And I was teaching. I might as well stay home. He said, I understand, and allowed me to do just that. And guess what? I soon realized when they became of age to learn how to read, write, and all those things, I'm their first teacher. So I created a day school, and that's how Champs began. For those of you who do not know, that's how Champs was born. Chosen Ambassadors Preparatory School was born when Mackenzie and all of her cousins were just 3 years old. Jacob was still a baby in a carrier, and I would put his seat on the table while I taught the children in our home. And I homeschooled and taught my children, my nieces, nephews, neighborhood children, family, friends, and everything for like 6 years. That was my life. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and teaching and learning. That was Chosen Ambassadors Preparatory School. But guess what? The Lord still was showing me a different way in order to bring me to where I am today. Because through that, and when I took my children to school, I met one of my best friends to this day, Nicole Childress. I had to realize that I had to keep the same work ethic, the same beliefs in myself intact, the same work that I was pursuing and doing in order to earn those things. You have to keep it up and not just start wallowing in, oh, what if this fell apart? All of the limiting beliefs started to heap on top of me and cause me to sink and not produce like I did before. And so then I had to actually embrace how failure is going to look in front of my audience of peers and friends who just held me to a, higher regard and was like, oh my God, Ruth, we just love how you do this and love how you do that. But I had to actually say, all that is gone now. All of the stage and the lights and the mirrors and the celebrations is all over. Now, how are people going to view me? It is my faith. It is my family. And it is my focus that keeps me steadfast and able to do the things that I do. So that was and is how my entrepreneur journey began. But in that entrepreneur journey, I also learned through and with my association and friendship with Nicole how to embrace a miracle morning by Hal Elrod. And I still do it to this day. And now I do that with community with some of my pink girlfriends. But we get up every morning, weekday morning, and we make sure we have time of silence and we affirm who we are and what God has given us to do and who we believe we are in Him. And then we talk about our vision and we share our vision as well as share our exercises, and we read devotions together, and then we scribe and we journal. So that was an acronym called SAVERS of how we actually embrace and do and work our miracle morning together every single day. So what is it that you are doing? What is it that you are doing in order to become better, become a better version of yourself? Are you literally commanding your morning? Are you spending time in silence, prayer, meditation? Are you writing your vision and making it plain so that you, as well as men, can run with it? And just, you have to be assured without a shadow of a doubt that you were created. You were You were created on purpose. You were created with purpose and for a purpose. And that is how the podcast actually was born. Because again, I have just married my teaching and entrepreneur lives and put them together. And God gave me just the vision to share it, and not just to share it, but to continue to learn from others, because that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, is to interview ladies and ask them what it is that they need or desire about their skincare. And that's what I offer. That's how I started interviewing people. And so now I have just transferred that skill into interviewing entrepreneurs to hear about their journeys, because we are not all the same. And my prayer is that you learn from the stories that you hear, or you even see yourselves in the stories that you hear of someone else, and how what they've done and how they've just embraced their journeys, no matter what they've had to go through, the ups and downs, the challenges, even the successes, how they have impacted them and their families. So I want you to do me a huge favor. If you have not yet, please subscribe, like, share, comment. Let me even know if you are an entrepreneur and if you would like to join me in a conversation about your journey, because I would definitely love to hear it. I am here for you. I am here to help you. Another lesson I've learned that I love so much, besides mentorships and embracing mentorships and embracing events to learn from, which is how I actually went to Atlanta a little while ago to go to the podcast summit, hosted by David Shands. That was amazing, but I have a whole another episode for that. But I want you all to know that you have to invest in yourself. You must invest in yourself, and invest in a way that you are learning and you're becoming better. I took an assessment, a Strength Finders assessment years ago, and I learned that my top 5 strengths is not just who I am, but it is also how I am supposed to embrace who I'm becoming by working in those strengths. So my very first one is positivity. Obviously, I love to see the bright side of things. And then there's maximizer, where I love to make big and nice things, just make them even better. And then I love achieving. Achiever is one. I love to win. And then input is another. I love to just collect information. I'm a collector of things. And then finally, the last one is learner. It probably is not last in the top 5, because I love to learn, but I love to share what I've learned. So when you find out what your strengths are and who you were created innately to become, that's what you are supposed to embrace every single day. These conversations that I'm having, even sitting here today, when I tell you it's been a day, I've had a really rough day. Emotionally, mentally, even physically, I did not feel that I was going to even be able to speak, let alone get myself up and together and do this. And I'm telling you this for a reason, because it may look like it's bright lights, and it may look like, oh, she's so made up and life is grand all the time. It's not. It's really not. Life is what you make it. We all have struggles. We all have disappointments. We do. We all have setbacks. We all have tragedies. As a matter of fact, I didn't expect to even share it. But when I did ask God over 16 years ago, I've known the scripture, and I've known that you, God, can give peace that passeth all understanding. But what does that mean, and how does that feel? And when I asked God that question, shortly after, my father passed, and my brother called me to tell me that my father had passed. And I said, okay. And he said, Ruth, you need to come to the hospital. Are you coming? And I said, no, I'm fine. And I hung up the phone with him, and I continued to sweep my kitchen because we were preparing for a baby shower that was to be at my house. And I continued sweeping the kitchen, and then I stopped because I felt a nudge, like somebody tapped me. And I stopped, and I paused, and I remember feeling that God said, this is how my peace feels. When you may want to lose it, fall out, collapse, cry. This was my dad, like my father. And I mean present father, like amazing, loving. He has never, ever not given me what I asked for. Father is now gone. And God was like, I am with you. Like he literally tells me and reminds me that in my darkest times, that your natural father may not be with you, but I am with you. I've got you. And that's why I have got to share it. That's why I have to speak and share what God is giving me and has given me. And that's why you have to also. It's not for you. Your story is not for you. The journey you're on is not for you. It is for you to help someone else on there. So I hope that this journey is helping you, because it's helping me. It's helping me to become more serene. Thank you so much for watching. I am so excited about everything that God is doing in my life and in your life. And there's so much more to come. So again, if you are enjoying these episodes, please subscribe, like, and share them with someone who also needs to hear about these conversations. And I look forward to speaking with you again. Until next time, stay serene.